Hello, I'm Dan.
And I'm Simon.
And this is the Wikicast, a podcast where Wikipedia takes us to a random article and we talk about what we find. Simon, what are we talking about this week?
This week, Daniel, we're talking about Tim Membrey.
Tim Membrey. Okay.
Yes, and there's a couple of links to us and this article, which have become obvious very quickly. I thought it'd be a good one for us to riff over. Tim Membrey, born 26th of May 1994, is an Australian rules footballer who plays for the St Kilda Football Club in the Australian Football League.
No way. I used to support St Kilda when I lived in Australia.
Oh, really? I did not know that. That's another connection that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really. Even then, I think I'm using the word support in its sort of loosest possible sense. But when people would ask me which AFL team do you support, I would say the Saints.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow! Tell me about Tim.
He's 29. He was born in May. Wait a minute. Oh my God, it's his birthday in 2 days as of the time of recording.
Oh, wow.
That's dating it, so I won't. People can look up the article to find out when we're recording this.
Yes.
But he's going to be 30 in 2 days' time.
Wow.
Good for you, Tim. I hope you're excited. I hope Father Christmas brings you lots of presents. And he's still active. He plays as a forward. He's 6'2", weighs 89 kilos. So actually very similar height and weight to me, now I think about it. And he has played 159 games for St Kilda. Oh, no, sorry, beg your pardon. 158 games for St Kilda and has scored 260 goals.
Gosh, well done, Tim.
And he's doing very well. He's number 28. And, oh, that's interesting. The seasons stop at 2021. So does that mean he's retired? It doesn't say that he's retired. Interesting. Okay, right. Maybe this just hasn't been updated. But yeah, he seems to be a good football player. So for people who may not be familiar, what is Australian rules football, Dan?
Well, it's a bit of a sort of mad game, really. It's very physical, quite violent, I think it's safe to say.
I think that's an understatement. Yeah.
It's played so it on the face of it, it looks like rugby in that there are posts. There are 4 posts though, not 2, and it's played on like a cricket oval in terms of its size. It's a large field.
Well, is it not just played on a cricket pitch? It's not even like it's a similar thing. Don't they like share stadiums and stuff? Or am I making that up?
Yes, yeah. So our closest was Melbourne Cricket, the MCG, Melbourne Cricket Ground, which features both cricket and Aussie rules depending on the season. And you can't carry the ball for you can carry the ball for a certain period of time, but when you take, or maybe in a certain distance, and when you sort of surpass that distance, you need to bounce the ball off the ground. And there's lots of kicking and things called speckies, which is when you sort of jump up into the back of another person.
That's what Michael Graham wears, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. It's a bonkers game. It's a little bit like Gaelic football, I think, but sort of rugby crossed with a whole host of crazy things. It's quite an exciting game.
Almost a bit like basketball.
And it's played in quarters as well. So you have it's not conventional sort of 2 halves as you would have in proper football, I was going to say, because of course they call it football over there, and football is soccer, which is mad. But yeah, it's a comically violent game. Quite exciting to watch. Haven't watched it in a very long time, but I've been to AFL games when I lived in Australia.
Because it has, as I understand it, so my knowledge of this comes from when I was doing my PhD, I lived for a year with a bunch of other students, PhD students, and one of them was Aussie. I think he was from Melbourne.
Yeah.
I want to say, it might have been from Adelaide. And I remember he had it on. He was sort of explaining the basics of it as he watched it. Like even more violent than rugby, which is quite an accomplishment, really.
Yeah, it takes some doing, I think, doesn't it?
And it seems to be incredibly athletic. Well, like rugby, incredibly athletic. You know, you're running really quite far during the course of a game.
Yes. Yeah, it's hugely physical. It's a massive cardio workout, I think.
And St Kilda was your local club.
I don't know about local. We didn't live far away from St Kilda, but we didn't live in St Kilda. It just, there's lots of teams in Australia, within a state and within a sort of similar sort of region within that state. So there's no shortage of teams. But when I was there, St Kilda were quite good. I'm trying to think of the other teams that we had. There were oh gosh, I can't remember. Now, this actually could lead us down a really, really hilarious tangent. And I don't think we've yet discussed this on the podcast in all of the episodes, which is quite impressive. But there's an amazing...
hours and hours of non-tent.
There's an amazing quirk of AFL, Aussie football culture that exists online. It exists in Australia as well, but it's easier for us to obviously hear it online than go over, just nip over on a plane. Before a game starts, when the teams are sort of running onto the field and everyone's getting very sort of,
Hyped.
whipped up, charged up, very excited for their team, they play each club's anthem. And every club has a specific anthem, and the lyrics are based around, how great that club is and the history of the club. But all of the musical stylings of almost every single AFL team is this weird sort of... So the Saints, for instance, St Kilda is When the Saints Go Marching In.
Okay.
That sort of stirring hymn. But all of the other ones have this weird sort of golden age, dated, sort of odd... It's very hard to explain, but the musical sort of... the soundscape and musical icon that is AFL club themes is hilarious, and the lyrics are so ridiculous, and it's also like it's lots of sort of brass bands and very, very butch men singing perfect, like the old adverts for cigarettes, I guess you'd get in like the 40s and 50s on the radio.
How old are you? I was remember those old adverts for cigarettes?
I've watched things, I've watched old films, and I've watched things that make fun of stuff before. I am quite old, not quite as old as you, I hasten to add.
I was going to say, I don't remember these from my childhood. I'm also not giving I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Yes, yeah.
Cigarette adverts on fire.
It's really funny. In fact, just as an exercise, I'd like you to, in Google... actually, let's nail it down a bit. Go into YouTube.
Right, hang on. YouTube.
And I'd like you to search AFL.
Yeah.
Hawthorn, which is a club.
Hawthorn. Yeah.
Theme.
Theme song. Got it.
Yes.
Right, okay.
I'd like you to listen to maybe 60 seconds of that, and then I'd like you to try and explain what I've just tried to explain.
Okay, right. Official Hawthorn Football Club theme song with lyrics.
Yes.
This is from the club itself.
Yeah.
Right, hang on.
Brace.
Oh my God. No.
Yeah, they're all like this.
No.
Every single one is like this.
Fergus, you've got to put some of this in the episode.
We're a happy team at Hawthorn. We're the mighty fighting horse. We love our club and we play to win. Riding the bumps with a grin at Hawthorn. Come on,
It's absolutely hilarious. It's so ridiculous, and people sing it with such sort of gusto and passion, and it is just objectively a very, very funny, sort of odd, overly like I'm a man's man sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my God. It's what were they called? I listened to a great episode of 20,000 Hertz about this, where companies used to, in this era, 50s, maybe going into a little bit later, used to have their own musicals. Oh God. No, not the one by Sondheim. 20,000 Hertz. Industrial musicals, that's what they're called. And they all sound like this. And it's like, oh, I'm a salesman for a refrigerator company, and my life's very hard. But it's like, oh wow. You've kind of short-circuited my brain a bit here, Dan.
Yeah, it's mad. It's this fascinating musical oxymoron of incredibly butch but really camp at the same time.
Yeah, so you're getting all your lads, you know, who have presumably been on tinnies since like 7 a.m, you know, turn up to the game, they're half cut, and then they all sing this?
I don't know how many people join in. I think probably a reasonable amount, but it's just hilarious to me. Whenever I'd hear it, it's hilarious. And my 2 younger brothers who were very, very, very sporty at school can reel off. If you name a club, they'll be able to sing you the theme to it.
Wow.
They get really weird. So I think the Fremantle, I think, is it the Fremantle Dockers or something? Their theme is ridiculous.
Fremantle Dockers.
Yeah, the Fremantle, okay, search that, listen to this. The Freo Dockers is their sort of, and listen to how
You
mad
know
this
that
is.
new sound you're looking for? Well, listen to this. No, this is a prank, Dan. There's no way this is actually their theme song.
It's not a prank. It's completely legitimate. This is blaring out through a football stadium.
This is what's playing in the gay steel mill.
Yeah, right? It's like at the end of like at the sort of closing ceremonies of the game, you expect to hear the YMCA, you know.
This is freeze frame, you know, the end of an 80s movie about dance,
Yeah.
and then suddenly that starts. But we are the free. Oh my god!
It's so funny. You expect it. There's a close up of a guy, a very, very sweaty man, not wearing a lot, taking a sip out of a bottle of beer with lots of condensation on it, flicking the hair back, and the sweat sort of flies. And then he walks up to one of his mates who works at the steel mill. It's a slap on the bum. It's you know. That's why I drink VB Victoria Bitter. So you know.
So hang on, top comment on this. Take mushrooms and listen to this at 0.5 speed. It will intensify the trip. I haven't got the mushrooms with me, but I'm just going to listen to a bit of this on 0.5. Fergus, if you could drop this in as well. Fremantle Dockers theme song HQ audio at 0.5. Oh no. Oh, that sounds like the worst thing you could possibly listen to whilst you're tripping on shrooms.
Yeah.
Oh, this, I was unaware. I was blissfully unaware of this musical genre, Dan.
Well, you're welcome.
I'm
And we've got Tim to thank.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. The most Australian name possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought we'd go in a different direction with Tim. I was like, well, we could talk about St Kilda and why St Kilda is called St Kilda, because it's a very roundabout story. Because we mentioned it before. The reason I thought it would be good to talk about is because I talked about St Kilda as a place before. I know Fergus, a lovely editor, he's been there and he's written music about it. And the place in Australia I was just reading was named after St Kilda in a roundabout way, because it was named after a vessel that docked at the port as a cargo vessel and was named the Lady of St Kilda after Lady Grange, who was imprisoned by her husband on the island of Herta, which is the largest island in the St Kilda archipelago. So it's like a 3 or 4 time removed reference to why this part of Melbourne ended up named after a Scottish island. But then we just took a very different turn into the campest. I'm just going to listen to a bit more. Hang on. I can't believe this is real.
It's mad, isn't it? It's completely mad.
There's AFL theme songs. There's a whole compilation on YouTube.
Oh yeah, this is the gift that keeps on giving, because some of them are even more. I'm trying to remember the really funny ones. Can you find? Is there one that's like Melbourne Storm or something?
There's Melbourne and North Melbourne.
One of them has they're called like Melbourne Storm, I think. They've got like a lightning
Melbourne
bolt.
Demons is just Melbourne.
It's a grand old flag, it's a high-flying flag, it's the emblem for me and you.
So camp.
Isn't it?
That's
It's
so,
mad.
That's so Austrian Papa band, and but then with sailors singing over the top of it.
Yeah. It's very sort of South Pacific. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Very funny though.
We need a song version of this.
We need a Wikicast version.
If somebody wrote us an AFL style theme song, I would wholeheartedly sing it with you, Dan, and we do a whole music video just about
a music video sort of akin to what I was just describing. Steel mill,
yes, yeah,
condensation beer, a pair of denim shorts that are a little bit too short, but it's okay because that's what they wear in the steel mill.
We get Tony Scott in to direct it.
It's like that episode of The Simpsons when they go to when they're trying to sort of like what was it? I mean, it's probably this.
Yeah, it's the gay steel mill.
Yeah.
It's that is that one, the Zap episode.
Yes.
Oh gosh, what's that? Oh god, it's got Homer is in the title. I mean, that doesn't narrow it down, does it?
There's the episode title like Homer erotic or something, or.
Oh god, hang on. Gay steel mill Simpsons. Season 8, episode 15, Homer's Phobia. That's it.
Amazing.
Because it's got John Waters as the. I tried to find it originally by putting Roger Waters Simpsons, and I was like, oh no, he's in Pink Floyd. That's very, very different. Oh man, what a great episode. So I actually answered a question about this recently. Somebody asked me, we'll come to why I was answering this in a second, about like which episode of The Simpsons am I going to show Pixel Baby first? And it's a really, really hard episode, like choice, right? And I also don't know how old she should be before I show her The Simpsons.
Yeah, probably not too young.
Yeah, like...
What do you think? What, like, sort of like 8?
8 or 9 was roughly where I was thinking.
Yeah, 8 or 9 I think is probably about right.
Because the thing that I'm really looking forward to is watching Lord of the Rings. That for me has become like a touchstone of like, I can't wait for that specifically. And there's a lot of like, well, I want you to see this as soon as possible, but also it has to be age appropriate. But also the older you are, the more you can like engage with it and appreciate it. Because I would have first watched when I was like 11.
I have the same thing, but when my girlfriend finally agrees to watch it with me.
Oh yes, because she's never seen it.
Okay, so this is something I maintain that she's never seen it. What she has done is she's seen bits of it when it's been on or somebody's been watching it, but as far as sitting down and watching, and I've said, look, we don't have to go in at the deep end and watch the extended edition. I mean, I'd much prefer to do that, but we don't have to. But one day will be a very happy day because I would have broken her will so much that she finally agrees to watching it.
That is, of course, the goal of all relationships, is just to break your girlfriend's will.
It's a will-breaking exercise, yeah, 100%.
The Wikicast does not endorse this view. This is a view of Daniel Moore.
Views my own.
But so to get to the reason why I was answering that question was I filmed a video that will definitely be out by the time this comes out on my new studio. So the big thing that's been happening behind the scenes is that I have secured myself a place to work. I've got a studio which is about 4 or 5 times bigger than my current spare bedroom in the house where I've been working out of, and I'm moving in there in like 2 weeks. And it's very, very exciting. It's kind of, it's for the first time, I'm going to actually have work-life separation. Like, I'm not just going to be sleeping right next to where I work, which, from being a kid, like I had that in school. I obviously had it at undergrad. And then for the PhD, I mean, you remember, Dan, my computer that I used to edit at was at the foot of my bed.
I recall it vividly.
There was absolutely no separation, and that's been the case all the way up through till now. And finally, I'm going to be able to leave in the morning, work, come back, and like switch on and off, hopefully, which I'm very excited for. But it also means that we're going to have a space to do more interesting in-person filming, and I can have guests around, like guest creators and academics, and I can film with them. And it's going to allow me to do stuff like filming D&D in person.
Yeah, amazing.
Previously, the RP Geeks has been filmed in person around Emily Bates's kitchen room table. Kitchen room table? I don't know what that was.
Kitchen room table? Are you feeling all right?
Yeah, I think it's strong.
Kitchen room or kitchen?
The room of cookery, as I like to refer to it.
Kitchen room table. Oh, you are such a moron. I love it. It's great.
You know why? I wonder if the reason I said that is because I re-listened this earlier today to the steamed hams reimagined as the confrontation from Les Mis. And
No, you're right. Yeah.
some of the lyrics of that is like Chalmers being like, Aurora at this time of year, Aurora at this time of day, localized entirely within your room of cookery. It's so good. Well, I'll include a link to that in the show notes because, me, it really tickles me. And I wonder if that's why I had cooking kitchen room table in my head. So yeah, we could film stuff in person, and it's going to be more interesting, hopefully. And also, we can do more podcast stuff in person because we are hopefully also by the time this comes out, at least one of the videos we filmed in my current office will be out. I mean, I think you'd agree, Dan. It wasn't terribly practical trying to film with more than one person in this room.
It was a squeeze. We made it happen, but to have a bit more space would be amazing.
And Dan really doesn't take up very much room, but we couldn't get out of the room because the chairs had to be moved, the camera had to go somewhere.
The tray of drinks.
The tray of drinks. Right. Do we want to do a post game on this now because this will have come out? I'm sure.
Yeah, I think we probably should.
You messaged me actually. You were trying to describe to some friends what we'd done.
Yes, that's right. What did I say? I said something like,
you were like, words cannot describe the fresh hell that was the spirit of Austria.
Yeah, trademark.
Yeah, trademark.
Yeah, it was hellish. So this we sort of alluded to it last time, didn't we? But we had well, if we're doing a post-mortem, that's critics, isn't it?
It should be Critics Corner. You're quite right.
I mean, I don't want to just leave Tim by the wayside, but I think he's fine.
Heaven forbid this podcast doesn't focus on the article that we generated, Dan. But yes, I think he's a good player. Well done, Tim. Good on you, to use an Australian term. And yeah, the big news sort of at the top of the show is that, yeah, I've got a studio. Maybe we'll be able to do some fun stuff in person. And I honestly don't know what the future holds with it, really. It's a bit terrifying about the fact that I've committed to a 2-year lease and it's going to cost me a lot of money. And I've now got to try and actually get that money back, So watch this space, people. But, what we can also watch, or rather listen to, is, Dan, your choral piece of the week.
We're a happy team at Hawthorn. We're the mighty fighting horse.
And this will be my piece of the week. Drum roll, please. Yeah, my choral piece of the week. So if memory serves, I think the last time we published an episode, I was talking about Walton's Belshazzar's Feast. Is that right?
I think that's right, yes.
I think that's right. So before I move on to my choral piece of the week this week, in a freaky sort of, one of those infinite sort of universe things, I've been listening to it and listening to it and listening to it and obsessing and obsessing and obsessing. And about 4 days ago, received a WhatsApp asking if I'd like to be involved in a performance of Belshazzar's Feast at Cadogan Hall. And I was like, oh, well, yes, I'd love to.
Oh, amazing.
So this is very exciting. On Saturday, the 13th of July at 7:30 in Cadogan Hall, I will be singing, I think as part of there's some semi-chorus sections of Belshazzar's Feast. I think that's what I'll be doing. But it's an absolutely extraordinary programme. The sort of running order is Parry's I Was Glad, Vaughan Williams' 5 Mystical Songs, Elgar Serenade for Strings, Parry, Blessed Pair of Sirens, and then the entirety of Belshazzar's Feast. So it's a series of shouts followed by an absolutely monumental shout. Very excited.
Yeah.
We've got a full 80-piece orchestra, including the addition of 2 brass bands. As Walton writ. So it's going to be huge. 2 choral societies and then a separate ensemble that will be covering the semi-chorus, English Sinfonietta. It's going to be massive. I'm really excited. So if anyone happens to be in London or near London and would like to come to what will, I'm sure, be an amazing concert, followed probably by a healthy session in the pub, then do come to
Nothing healthy about it.
Cadogan Hall on Saturday the 13th of July at 7:30. That's just a bit of a plug. My choral piece of the week
The other thing, though, just to jump
on.
on the coattails of your plug is, I believe we're both going to be singing it next year in Exeter Cathedral.
Really?
Yeah, it's the alumni event that Michael posted about a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, really? I don't think I saw that.
April 2025. Mark your calendars, folks. 5th of April 2025. We're doing Walton's Belshazzar's Feast and the Martin double choir mass.
Gosh.
So that's going to be a monumental.
That's a heck of a learn as well. The Walton is not easy.
No. So
complicated.
I guess I probably better start, considering how much spare time I have for music at the moment. I better start now. But yes, so it's funny, actually. I remember seeing that and thinking, oh, that's weird. We talked about this last time. So yes, there are two opportunities, one much sooner than the other for you to hear this piece. And in fact, Daniel singing it. But what's your new choral piece of the week?
My new choral piece of the week, I think, is sort of similarly interesting because I've got a bit of a connection with it. You'll, of course, having spent so much time in Exeter singing, be very familiar with Samuel Sebastian Wesley.
Of course.
Of course. Any piece in particular that jumps out to you?
I mean, the piece that jumps out to me is Blessed Be the God and Father, because
Yes.
that's what we had at the wedding, and it's just a cast iron banger.
Absolutely. Well, my choral piece of the week this week is Wesley's Blessed Be the God and Father, because a very interesting album has very recently been released under the Delphinian label. It's the...
Oh, is this part of the Drake beef thing?
The I don't know. Maybe. It could be. It's...
Very long-term diss tracks against Drake by SS Wesley.
The disc is sung by the choir of the National Musicians Church, which is an amazing building, and they're under the conductor of Toby Ward, who's a friend of mine, very, very lovely man, exceptionally gifted musician. But I was listening to the disc, and it's really interesting because there's lots of things that you'll encounter on the disc that are familiar or will be familiar to you, but they're done in a new. Well, actually, probably not a new way. They're done as originally written. So, for instance, when you start listening to "Blessed Be the God and Father," there's a sort of little pootly organ bit at the beginning that isn't in the scores that we know. If I can briefly read the summary of the album. In an age when church attendance in England was flourishing, Samuel Sebastian Wesley, 1810 to 1876, was one of the foremost composers and organists of his day. Taking advantage of the new developments in instrument building, Wesley was able to push the boundaries of English church music in a new direction, encompassing a more ambitious, even operatic style. In this recording, the first to have been made using an organ similar in design to his own, Wesley's music is brought to vibrant life by the young professional singers of Holy Sepulchre under conductor Toby Ward. It's really good. I really like it. I think the singing is great. I mean, any Wesley is great. Wesley, of course, being a former organist of Exeter Cathedral, amongst other cathedrals. It's just very interesting. There's things there that you'll know. There's things that you won't know. And I think it's really nice. So my choral piece of the week this week is Blessed Be the God and Father on the Samuel Sebastian Wesley Sacred Choral Music album with the choir of National Musicians Church and Toby Ward.
I'm so glad that you didn't say the word disc again. I don't think I've heard anybody say listening to a disc for about 30 years.
Well, better than a record.
Yes. I mean, I remember, what's it called? Hello Internet, Brady Haran and CGP Gray's podcast. They did an episode on vinyl, which I feel like is possibly a little beyond our capabilities, but, you know, perhaps we could do one better. Maybe we could get you to just do an episode on, like, wax cylinder. And
Yeah.
We post these out for people to listen to on their Edison machines.
Yeah, gosh.
That's such a stupid...
It's more my speed, certainly.
Yes, 33 revolutions per minute. The going rate for France. Speaking of, I mean, we got an election. We got a bloody well election, Dan.
Oh, yeah, gosh.
We didn't mention that at the start of the episode.
A very damp announcement.
Oh, it was ridiculous. Because I was actually in London when it happened. I was only like half a mile from Downing Street.
Oh, really? So that's funny. You should have said that because we would have been very, very close to each other because I finished work and went immediately to... Well, first we went to the Speaker and then we went to the Red Lion. The Red Lion is sort of opposite Whitehall and it's known as a sort of spad pub. Lots of sort of civil servants, parliamentary folk usually go there. So it was the day to go to overhear the carnage and things that are going on. We had a very jolly time indeed.
Yeah, because I was on HMS Belfast at the Royal Meteorological Society annual general meeting. I was getting an award and
that's right,
looked down at the end of the day, and I was like, "Oh bloody hell!" It's been an announcement. So that was an interesting day, all round. Anyway, that's aside. That'll be a topic of discussion for a future episode. Let's actually take a hop, skip, and a jump over into Critics Corner, because I'm sure we've got some things to discuss here as well.
Let's do it.
So I've been watching a couple of things recently, Dan. Actually, well, I suppose I've been listening to something, which I'll just mention here outside of the choral piece of the week, because it's not at all choral. I don't know if you've listened to very much by Creed.
I can't say that I have been, no.
More Credo, less Creed.
Yeah.
So they're sort of like late 90s, early 2000s kind of rock grunge, like kind of think Nickelback, but less whiny.
Sure.
And I've been really enjoying it. I don't remember listening to very much of it when I was younger, but it's like hit my funny bone for music recently. And I've just, you know how you'll have a song that's just like, well, this is my personality now, and you'll listen to it, on repeat endlessly.
Yeah.
That's been me recently. But that aside, I don't know, do you ever find yourself sort of falling down the rabbit hole of really, really long YouTube videos?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
So I've been watching Jenny Nicholson recently, who's not really a creator I've watched very much before. I was aware of her stuff, but I've not really seen it. And she has this video that I have been watching for the past couple of days now, which is 4 hours and 5 minutes long. And it's the spectacular failure of the Star Wars Hotel.
Oh, cool. I bet that's... I already like it by the title.
I mean, did you hear about what this was?
No.
So basically at Disney World, they offered a 2-night adventure where you stayed in a Star Wars themed hotel where it was all made to look like you're staying on a spaceship, and you have like a wristband on the whole time, which then allows you to interact with a story. So it like tracks how close you get to actors who are performing particular roles, and it would allow you to get access to different parts of the ship, quote unquote, so that you could be on like a smuggler storyline or a resistance or a first order storyline. And, it was like immersive. So you were supposed to talk to these people who would be in character the whole time. And then you'd be like, right, you've got to go to the bridge, you've got to talk to this person, you do this activity, come back. And in theory, it sounds actually really quite interesting, right? Like, I mean, I would be, maybe not for Star Wars, but I could see myself doing this for potentially some other stuff. God, no, not Warhammer. That would be like the worst thing. A 2-day immersive Warhammer experience is like the worst thing imaginable. But it cost, I think I'm right in saying $6,000.
Gosh.
For a cabin.
It's quite a lot of money.
And it didn't work. Like, all the technology didn't work, and it's been shut down. You can't go anymore. And apparently it cost Disney $400 million. And yeah, that's what this video is about. It's Jenny actually went on the experience. So she actually did the holiday. And it's sort of like, it's a report of what she got up to and what her thoughts on the whole thing as like a big Disney fan and the fallout from it. And it's just, I don't know why, I found myself really drawn to these stupidly long YouTube videos recently. Because you say you've done this. I mean, are there any in particular that you remember like falling down the rabbit hole of?
Gosh, aside from what was that one about the disaster? The boat disaster.
Did you mean the James Cameron film Titanic?
No, I didn't mean that, although I have watched that recently.
Oh, The Cost of Concordia?
Yeah, Cost of Concordia, which I really, really liked.
Unfortunately, a YouTube channel that has now been implicated in the massive scandal over stealing their scripts.
Oh, really?
Like, I don't think it's that one. I think it's the other one about the man stuck in a hole, which was basically just plagiarized entirely from another channel.
Oh gosh.
But
oh well. But that I can think of as something that I've experienced. But otherwise, I don't really have the time to watch longer form things anymore. I'm just sort of consuming snippets of stuff when I can. There is a new channel that I've really sort of become slightly obsessed with called I think it's called Anti-Chef.
Anti-Chef?
Yeah, he's a guy who cooks and like does recipes, but then talks about the experience, but cooking quite complicated recipes and sort of really famous ones. So he'll be cooking dishes by Marco Pierre White or The Art of French Cooking, Julia Childs and things like that. And he's got a very endearing presence and, quite funny chap. So yeah, I've been watching a lot of that.
I'm looking at his channel now. Interesting.
It's very good. It's very, very good.
I've never heard of this guy before. God, YouTube's just so vast now. I mean, this guy's got 500,000 subs, and I'd never heard of him at all before.
Yeah,
outrageous.
I think the appetite for that sort of cooking stuff though has only increased since sort of like your binging with Babish, your sorted food. I mean, Good Mythical Morning have their own food team now, right? That goes on,
Oh, really?
Does incredibly successful things. Yeah, I think so. And then Hot Ones, of course.
Yeah. Or Not Ones, the Yogscast version.
Not Ones, yes.
I do like the fact that they have Hot Ones, but presented by Sarah, who has no spice tolerance whatsoever. That's great. They've been experimenting recently, and I'm here for it. They've got some very fun stuff.
Yeah, there's no shortage of ideas.
It's taken up my entire pipeline. Like my watch later playlist I got it down to like 20 videos and it's now over 70. I've got so many videos to watch because this bloody 4-hour video is taking up all of my time. And then there's the Fighting in the Age of Loneliness, which was about the development of MMA that's by Secret. But there's so many things to watch, Dan. I just don't have any time.
It's too many things.
I mean, I barely had didn't have that much time beforehand. But like having a baby really takes up a lot of time, and I don't have it anywhere near as bad as my wife.
Yeah, gosh. Never ends.
Having kids it's a real time sink.
Yeah.
I did just hear the door slam. I am slightly fearful that Pixel Wife heard me say that and has just left me.
Oh gosh. No, I'm sure it's all right.
She's like, he's complaining? He's got the easiest ride here. Like, ooh. Might need to smooth that one over later. Just put that comment in context. But yeah, that's what I've been watching, and I feel like it's a thing on YouTube at the moment that there's been this carcinization of YouTube video lengths where they've all become about 18 to 20 minutes, like that kind of range, and then there's been this movement in the other direction, away to like short form, less than a minute long, or 4 hours long. I think ContraPoints did a video on, was it on J.K. Rowling? Was it on Twilight? Twilight, yeah, it's 3 hours long.
Gosh.
It's just, it's interesting to see how this ecosystem is just like, shifting over time. In a way that's just not really that predictable. I never would have guessed that this would have happened.
From an algorithmic perspective and as a content creator, surely it would be better to take these things that could manifest as a 3.5 hour long video and break them up into an episodic structure.
I think the problem is, from a creator standpoint, that you have a large amount of loss between each episode. Like your first episode will always do the best, and then you'll lose people over time as it goes on, and within each one of those videos you also have a retention curve where you're losing people at certain points. And I think it is just more efficient to package it as one large object, and it basically allows you to be more creative with what you can do in a video. Like the other channel I've really fallen in love with recently is Bobby Fingers, who does these amazing dioramas, or kind of crafts, I guess. Like he does these dioramas of like Mel Gibson getting arrested for a DUI, or Steven Seagal being put in a chokehold, or Fabio being hit by a goose on a roller coaster. And he did one that really got me recently. It's like half an hour long, where he creates a fiberglass rowing boat, like a life-size rowing boat in the shape of Jeff Bezos's face. And this really ominous shot at the end of it of him rowing in it, and you see it from underwater, shot like looking upwards, and it's like the "Show me what you got" guy
sure.
from Rick and Morty as Jeff Bezos' plates just floats. I mean, but there are like plot threads that take place over the entire video that you wouldn't have been able to do if you had just broken it up into episodes. Like it's its own art form, in the same way that you can do things with film that you can't do in TV, and vice versa, I guess.
Sure.
But on the flip side, from the creator's perspective, like if you do put all your eggs in one basket, like Jenny Nicholson, for example, she makes a video every 6 months, and if that video flops, then okay, cool, I've got to wait another 6 months before I get to try again. Like,
yes.
and my income is now massively reduced. Although I will point out that Jenny Nicholson has like 44,000 patrons. And,
right. Okay.
Even assuming that they're at the lowest tier, like, I'm pretty sure she's fine for money. But yeah, if it was me, I would never be confident enough to do that kind of release schedule.
Yeah. I suppose, do you think it also impacts the sort of audience reaction, and perhaps like how kind or generous or understanding of the work that they are, based on the fact that they're released so rarely and they're such long format things? Do you think people are a little bit more kind in their reviews? I mean, I'd be interested to know whether on her video she has comments enabled or not.
Yeah, she does. And I think people can be kinder, and I think they can recognise that it's a huge amount of work. I mean, the closest I've got to this is when I did an hour-long video on the century, an optimistic account of the 21st century. And a lot of comments were like, this is this huge piece of work. I remember like Tom Scott and other creators like messaged me to be like, this is a huge amount of work, like, well done. But, that didn't, in that particular case, that it wasn't enough to tip it over into like snowballing being recommended because of the quality, if you get what I mean. Like, it was,
sure,
the feedback was more positive because of it was ambitious and it was big, but it wasn't so positive that it actually allowed that allowed it to become successful. So it's, it is an interesting one. I mean, somebody did point out on Jenny's video, like, I mean, the Star Wars Hotel went out of business. I'm going to double check this, but like, because I haven't got this far in the video yet, I think it went out of business at least like 6 months ago. Yeah, September 2023. And there was one of the top comments was like, the problem with this video is it's so well researched and so thorough that by the time it came out, it's been out of date for half a year. Like, yeah, that's the other risk of it. You don't tend to have news being reported like this. Let's put it like that. Yeah, that's what I've been considering.
Gosh, that was very sort of serious, civilized, interesting conversation. I could have been interviewing you on a panel for content creators and things.
Oh, I wonder if I've slipped into that, because I've been that's another thing I've been listening to, was to help me fall asleep. I've been listening to, I think it's Retox 44, basically very long form, quiet, calm interviews with people. Yeah. Like very ASMR-y. And I've been listening to them, and a lot of them from authors, which has made me feel terrible about my own writing process. And it's like, I guess I'm just reverting into their like patter of speaking.
I've been finding that I normally listen to podcasts when I want to fall asleep, but I've actually just been listening to a lot of your like back catalogue of videos, and that sends me off to sleep.
Oh, it puts you right to sleep.
30 to 60 seconds and I'm gone, It's really helpful.
Hey, as long as you don't pause the video, I get the full watch time for the whole video, so I encourage that. Pick the longer videos if at all possible. As long as you don't fall and hit your forehead on the space bar on your keyboard, we're gold.
I would never just hit the space bar on my keyboard. If it was with my forehead, it would be the entire thing, So.
Wow, this guy's typed War and Peace.
Yeah. Whoops. Sorry, me again.
Oh my god, that's good. That really got me. That was out. Tell you what, that is something else that really got me. It was earlier today. I was rewatching it. Andrew in our group chat sent. I think it's a YouTube channel that just does stuff on a wizard war.
Oh yeah,
did you see this?
Yeah, it's very funny.
Power word scrunch. Like, I've got to get the out of here. Like, it really, really tickled me earlier. The idea of the idea of a wizard war is a very interesting concept, but the idea of this character, like a Rincewind character, just being like, "What the f is going on? I'm casting Frostbite at level 2, and he's got power word Scrunch." Oh, so good.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Anyway, have you been watching anything good recently?
I've started rewatching House, Dr. Gregory House, MD, with Hugh Laurie.
I think I remember you watching this for like one of the first times.
Yeah, I think I got as far as maybe the midway through the third season, and I'm now up to that point. Like I watch an episode and go, oh, hang on, I think I've seen this, but I want to go right the way through and do the whole thing. But I'm really enjoying it. It's just really easy watching. I used to watch quite a lot of with a family I stayed with in Australia for the last 2 years. We watched an awful lot of Grey's Anatomy.
Oh God, the never-ending story.
Yeah. And it's sort of like, I don't know, it's sort of quite nice to... I think it's the reason why people watch Friends. I mean, Friends does it better, of course, but it's just something sort of that you can come back to, and it's known, you know, and it's like putting on a pair of old but very comfortable slippers. You know, you're just sort of like, oh yeah, I know where I am. This feels like home, sort of thing. So... I've been watching a lot of House, a lot of Anti-Chef, as I mentioned. New podcast I've been listening to. I may have mentioned this last episode, so if I have, then forgive me. But Pulp Kitchen. I've been listening to a lot of that.
Oh, I think you may have mentioned this.
Yeah, film podcast. Really good. Really, really good. Just very easy listening. I like it a lot. And then listening to Belshazzar's Feast all the time, because that's my life now.
On the subject of like comfort viewing, so Pixel Wife has been she's been watching Downton Abbey, but she's been watching it in Spanish.
Oh, why on earth would you do that?
The Spanish dub of it. I don't know why she does this. Well, she's doing it to keep her language, you know.
I guess in French it would probably be really good. I think it would work in French, but I couldn't take it seriously in Spanish.
Yeah, because it's normal Spanish, you know, everything has been translated, but some things just haven't. So there'll just be a normal sentence. It'd be like, ¿Cómo estás, mi lord?
Yeah.
Or like, mi lord is just exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, and there was one time when I sat down and we had dinner together and she was like, oh, put it back into English or put English subtitles on so that, you know, we could both watch it. And she was like, oh, footman. I thought that guy was a butler. Like, there's a lot of very specific vocabulary. And it's like, why are you doing this to yourself?
How bizarre. I might start doing it with French. I've seen all of Downton Abbey quite a few times, but I'm learning. I'm trying to relearn. I did bits of French at school, but I want to try and... My challenge is to get like conversationally acceptable French. Not fully fluent, but like I could, if I went to France, I could have conversations with people and not be too concerned before I'm 30. So I've got a couple of years just to hit it as hard as I can. So
I'll definitely recommend Busu, the app that I've been using.
Yeah.
But I think the key thing that I'm missing is just practicing it. Like I think I'm like, in terms of the theory, I've got a decent vocabulary. I've got decent enough grip on the grammar, but it's just I have no confidence whatsoever speaking it or writing it myself. And also I don't watch stuff. I don't listen to it. So I think that's the next step is like...
I think I'm the same. So I'm Duolingoing as much as I can just to keep sort of things like grammar, but then also introductions to new vocab and things. And I find it's good. The pressure of maintaining a streak I find really helpful. And the way that they can sort of like, oh, well, if you know, you can move up to the top league if you do an extra 5 minutes here. I'm like, okay, yeah, God, I'll do that then. But I think the thing I'm really missing is conversation. Like I think I just need to like call people like Ed Dunn more often and just be like, could we, you know, can we spend like 20 minutes just for me trying to talk in French and you only talking in French to me? There's a guy in our village who's fluent French, and I'm sure there are plenty of people in the village actually, but one of them in particular, and I've said, on a weekend or something, if I'm at home, then I'll buy you a pint. Can we just have a conversation for half an hour? And I think that sort of thing, and obviously listening to it will make such a big difference, because particularly listening to things where you're sort of familiar with what's going on, or familiar with what's really being said in the sentence, because you can remember what it is in English. You start listening not just to like the sentence structure, but like, oh, they're using this word here and that means this, and
Yeah.
So that's going. That's a thing that I'm doing, which I'm quite enjoying.
I think that's also going is this episode, Dan. We have been talking for nearly an hour already, and we haven't even said thank you to the most important people in the entire show. So I think we're going to have to draw it close to Critics Corner for now,
Yes.
and then we need to thank some people, and then we should very briefly do some correspondence and get the fuck out of here.
Let's do it.
Top lad.
And as Simon just alluded to, we find ourselves in Patreon corner, one of the most, if not the most important corner of the podcast, where we say an enormous thank you to those who support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/the Wikicast. Without your guys' support, we wouldn't be able to do this silly thing. We wouldn't be able to see each other as often and do these silly things, because your kind donations enable incredibly exciting things to happen, like the awful cultural drinking that we did.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen
Yeah,
that,
thanks for that.
you must watch it. It's a truly frightening experience. Simon, if I wanted to support the Wikicast, what could I do?
Well, I mean, you could tell your friends about us. That's free. Don't do that, though. They won't be your friends for very much longer after that. The more direct way that you could support us is for free. You could rate us on your podcasting service of choice, but also go to patreon.com/the Wikicast and sign up either as a cat or dog in Team Cat or Team Dog for $1 a month. We're literally... this isn't worth much. We're not asking for very much here. We just want to cover hosting costs and actually pay Fergus. So just $1 a month, or if you want to be very fancy, you can go for a top cat or top dog position, and that's $5 a month. And we will say thank you to all the people who are supporting at that level in each episode, with myself, obviously, supporting the correct patrons here, the top cats. I like to filter them in different ways so we don't always have the same order. So let's go with this time around. Thank you very much to Anna Reifer, Christopher Betterton, Kobe, Cole Mansfield, Dame Valerie III, Dan Hanvey, Isabella, Izzy CC, Jack Easton, James S, Layla Medina, Lexi at Front Desk's cat Hilda, Lord Lewis Bassendale of Anitsford and its surrounding provinces, Nathan Flaherty, Oliver Berghardt, Rentskirk, Simon P, The Kyrian on Caffeine, and Will Jenice Humphreys.
And I'd like to say an enormous thank you to those who support at top dog tier. I like to keep the order the same each time because it gets a sort of nice patter to it. So I'd like to say an enormous thank you to Jay Wright, Ben McMurtry, Codzo, Colin J. Brown, the original Lexi at Front Desk, Henry VII, King of England and of France, Lord of Ireland, Aaron Jorgensen, Naf Laroche, Andrian with an N, Chan, Ben Caples, Martin Narciso, Lexi at Front Desk is the boss now, Amy Bonney, Sophie, Karnav, I'm stuck in a PhD and I blame Simon, and Riley Stray. Thank you so much for your support.
No, I never want the Lexi at Front Desk cinematic universe to end. It's the best part of this podcast, and it's nothing to do with us.
There's nothing else.
Top lad.
And we have 2 emails to read out in Correspondence Corner. This one is particularly direct. It's from... I won't read out the name because I don't think they want me to... That seems a good reason. But the subject line is, what do we want? Merch! Dear Messrs. Clark and Moore, I'm writing to you as a long-time listener, fan, and humble devotee of the pod in the hopes that you might consider bringing back some merch. I can't help but feel my wardrobe is empty every time I go to put on a t-shirt and have to face the fact that it is not Wikicast attire. Please, can you make some more? Otherwise I'll have no choice but to create a botched at-home version which frankly nobody wants or needs. Sincerest sincerelies, a keen yellow t-shirt enthusiast who is rapidly approaching her 10,000 day birthday. Parentheses, I cannot do the maths for how many Prince Louis that is. Oh, blimey. Wikicast merch. Speaking of things that nobody wants.
Let's bring it back. I say yes. I still wear my t-shirt every now and then. It's got a special spot in my chest of drawers. I would like to do a mug as well. I feel like this thing needs to have a mug for the number of tea and coffee drinkers that I know are out there among the readership.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, it would be easy enough to do. It's just because we did it as a run in, like 2018, I think, because you came to my parents' house. We did the photo shoot.
We did.
To announce it whilst I was still living at home. So it must have been 2018. And there are not many Wikicast t-shirts out there. I think we made, I want to say, like 50 or something like that.
And your dear mother posted them all, like the legend that she is.
Yes, she did. With her own fair hands, she went to the post office. Oh no, she didn't. No, she didn't come to the post office with me. I think I took them down, but she was the one who did all the packaged them, did the labels and everything.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Because she's just a babe. She also did have this to say about the Wikicast t-shirt, however. She said, it's difficult to wear it because I look down and Dan Moore is on one of my boobs.
Yeah.
Like,
so look, it's a challenging thing for anyone to sort of come to deal with, come to terms with.
Yeah, that's caused a bifurcation in the audience. There are several people who went, well, I definitely don't want one now. And there are some people who went, well, I definitely want one now. So we can look into it. Can I leave that with you, Dan? If you want to look into a service that could possibly do them to order rather than us making them pre-order.
Absolutely. I think that's the way to do it. Yeah, I'll do some research.
Because there are things like Teespring and T-Mill and yeah, if you could do that, and ideally one that also does a mug. I think basically, in order for it to make sense, we'd have to do it on a per order basis. Like what we did last time was we got all these pre-orders in, and then made them and posted them out to people who did pre-orders, so we didn't have excess stock, and it was a huge amount of faff. So if we could make it work on a to order basis, I'd be all for it. I think it would be fun, and why not? It's a little bit of silliness as a treat, and. Sure. Let us know, or tell us in the Discord. If you're on the Discord, and let us know in the Wikicast channel if you would like a T-shirt, so we can assess if it isn't just. I don't want to say their name just in case. If it isn't our dear reader here on their own. Hopefully not. Hopefully there's people who would also who'd also like one of these. But Dan's looking into it.
Maybe we could do it. We'll do a sort of teaser poll on the Instagram and our various socials and see if that garners any support. Yeah, leave it with us.
Sure, let's go with that.
We have another email here, Simon, from regular reader and writer to the podcast, Lewis.
Of Anitsford and its surrounding provinces.
Indeed, and he's writing with a sports suggestion for you.
Mm-hmm.
Lewis goes on to say, hello. May I, as a motorsport journalist, recommend Formula E to Simon? Formula E began in 2014 and is the premier electric-only single-seater championship. It's net zero since its inception and focuses on inclusivity and diversity with programs such as Girls on Track. The race is run on a one-day format, mainly on Saturdays, with some running as separate rounds in the same city on Saturdays and Sundays, same format both days. The tracks mainly are in cities, on street tracks such as Tokyo and Sao Paulo, but also do run on permanent tracks such as Misano in San Marino, Italy. They also have a final, or I was going to say finale, but that's too musical, is it?
No, I think a finale is the right term.
Okay. They also have a finale in London, which runs through the hall of the XL Centre and through its car park.
It goes through the XL? That can't be right. Surely you jest. Surely.
Through the hall of the XL Centre is what we have. I mean, it's quite a big centre, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not a racetrack, Dan. Hang on. Oh my God. It actually goes through the convention centre. So it's not the hall. If people have been to the convention center, it's not the hall in the middle, but it goes through the the bit where the actual exhibitions happen. In fact, the course is a loop around the XL, with the pit lane being on the riverside. Holy guacamole, that's incredible that they can do that.
Well, this might be it then. The races can be watched on TNT Sports and Discovery Plus via a subscription, which also includes all the other sports you could imagine. But you can catch every race since its start on the Formula E website for free via the race reply page. I hope this interests you. Sincerely, Lewis Bassendale, the world's biggest racing nerd.
Oh man, I really should give this a go, because on paper it should titillate and excite me. And I think the thing about Formula One is that it also should titillate and excite me, but it has that massive carbon footprint associated with it, which isn't actually largely from the race, is it? It's mostly actually from transporting these things from place to place. But at least this is advocating for electric vehicles. Oh, I should give it a go.
Give it a go.
I really should give it a go.
What's the worst that can happen?
Give it a go now. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. Yes, I should give this a go. Lewis, tell you what, if I get the opportunity, I can't promise that I'll have time to do this because time is a very precious commodity right now. But if I do, I promise that I will do my best to give this a go and watch the next season. Wow.
Amazing.
Thank you, Lewis.
So, Simon, what have we learnt today?
Today, Dan, we learned about Tim Membrey, an Aussie rules football player from St Kilda, which was one of your local teams and has one of the campiest theme songs I have ever heard in my life.
We absolutely have. I'm glad that we finally managed to talk about this ridiculous phenomenon that is AFL themes, because it's something that does live in my head and sort of rears up every now and then, and I realise how ridiculous it is.
Fergus, could we just get another snippet in the show for like 2 seconds now, please?
What the trumpet?
Dan?
Trumpet
What is
fanfare.
this?
Yeah, synth trumpet fanfare though. We had my choral piece of the week where I spoke about my upcoming performance in a performance of Belshazzar's Feast, which is very exciting, and this new album of the works of Samuel Sebastian Wesley.
We did. We talked about the new studio that I've got myself into and my bizarre penchant recently for learning French and for watching very, very long videos on YouTube and sort of comparing notes on that.
And finally, we said an enormous thank you to those who support us on Patreon and ended with a little bit of correspondence. So we've had it's been quite a busy session, Simon.
Quite a busy episode. And thank you very much to people who've borne with us whilst we've had a lot of stuff going on and we haven't been releasing quite as often as we would like. We really do appreciate you sticking with us. And we hope that for those of you who like podcasts where two people just talk about nothing in particular, that we are fulfilling that need.
And that's all for this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice, join the Discord, and if you'd like to see our faces, check out our Instagram.
Unusual sports theme songs, thoughts on long format YouTube videos, and other thoughts on the show can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole,
And we'll see you next time.